Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to round 12 of the IFL F3 series presented by Butt Kicker. We're here starting off the Pacific rounds, or the Pacific leg, you could say, of this tour at the Pacific Grand Prix at the famous Okayama International Circuit. I'm joined by my co-host, Lewis Archer, who's going to be here providing commentary alongside me. Lewis, what do you see coming out of this F3 race after the spectacular F2 race we saw yesterday?
Yeah, definitely. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First thing, yeah, we definitely saw some fireworks yesterday and all the way to the end of the race. But I did feel for those guys. And I do feel, as far as the story of this F3 season goes, we saw Caitlin Height, the championship leader. She took the points lead in the constructors title. Bearing in mind she's a solo driver, so she's only got one person to add to those points, and she's managed to take both the lead in the driver's title and the constructor's title. So she is on an absolute charge. I don't think we're going to see anyone, Christiana Schegertman, being in second place in the title. I really don't think we're going to see a challenge for that. It's still mathematically possible, of course, as we've still got, including this round, 7 more races to go. So there is 185 more points up for grabs. So, but yeah, Caitlin on a massive roll right now. But yeah, this is a great circuit. The Formula One used to race here in 1994 and 1995 when the cars were just a little bit slower. I think probably they would be a bit too quick for this circuit now. But yeah, it's a great circuit, isn't it? The motorbikes would go well here. Nice and sweeping, flowing corners. Not too many slow corners. A couple. So you get presented with some decent braking zones. But overall, it's a fairly committed track. And as you see all the way around this, there is hardly a runoff in sight. So every single corner, the entry or the exit or the inside is just punishment by death via a gravel trap or a bit of grass, which we saw yesterday. Any driver that makes a mistake, you're off. But yeah, we're just coming to a close now. We've got just a couple of minutes left of this practice session. Walker at the moment is currently sat in P1, but we can't take too much from this practice session, as we see our main title leader hasn't even set a time lap as of yet. So but still, again, Walker just improving on his lap time again, breaking into the 22s there as we approach just 1 minute left to go before we hit our 25-minute qualifying session for round 12 of 18 of season 2 of the IFL. Getting excited. How do you feel, Rob?
I am super excited to call this race, Lewis. After being in the F3 division the entire season, knowing what these cars go through, these tires are just so small, and to what these drivers could do with some of these cars at some of these tracks is absolutely unbelievable. I don't know how they do it, and it's going to be really awesome to see the outside view. Especially when we've got new drivers joining into the league as we go. We've got Brandon Walker. He was just been in for a couple races. Jonathan Lilly, he's coming up. He's up there on second right on the leaderboard. Like you said, it's not something you can really go by, but up in the top 5 there, I see 2 or 3 new guys that are fresh in the league. So I'm really excited to see if some of these new guys put some of these kind of older veterans up to their paces.
That's it. You just don't know where they're going to sit in with, obviously, as we start our qualifying session now, we watch our first few drivers exit in the pit lane. You just don't know where they're going to sit, and obviously the other drivers that do return week after week after week also have that same apprehensive moment where they also don't know how to race or that familiarity. The reason we all come to a league race rather than racing publicly on iRacing is so you gain that familiarity with the same drivers each week. And obviously when you have new drivers coming 6 or 7 rounds before the end, well into a campaign, it throws something in the mix. It throws a variable. If you're fighting with somebody for a title and you've got, in between you and that car, you've got somebody new, it just makes it that much more difficult to call. And as you said, there's not just one. There's a few new guys out there as we see these drivers peeling out on disgusting cold F3 tires. as you know yourself, you've driven these cars not so recently.
Yeah, these tires do take about 2 to 4 laps, depending on what kind of setup you're running, to really tune themselves in. But once they really do get up to temperature, you can really use the tires up. You can really put that car through its paces. It's a fairly light vehicle, so and it's got a lot of downforce when you want it to have downforce. Obviously, if you take a look here at Eric Beddoes, part of the BE Racing Group, he's got a lower downforce setup on this F3 car today, so not using as much downforce, trying to get a little bit more top speed on some of these straightaways. Could hurt him a little bit today, but be interesting to see how that setup plays out for him. But that's just the beautiful thing about these cars is they really do take a lot of abuse from the driver, not so much from the wall, but from the driver.
Yeah, you can the 250 brake naturally aspirated engine that sits in these, although they have a very great power to weight ratio, these cars, they really don't weigh a lot, something 600 and something kilos, so it's a very lightweight car, and with a generous helping of downforce as well to help the grip levels, which is why the cold tyre period is so awful, because they don't actually have a mega set of tyres on them. So the adhesion level comes from the downforce within the car and things like that, so you really do have to wait. As you will see with these qualifying times, as they tumble down after the first 6 or 7 minutes and start getting to their third or their fourth lap, they really start to push. The difference, I remember when I was driving these back in season 1, the difference between a set of cold tyres and a set of hot tyres on this car is just more noticeable than any other car. On iRacing, I'm not saying that I've driven every car, but out of the ones that I have driven, this car is just an absolutely different car with a set of warm tyres, and in the race, it can get quite dangerous, especially on those first laps where you want to open up strong and you want to take advantage and things like that. And we've seen many safety cars this season, drivers pushing just a little bit too early on these tyres and losing it. Even the best of them. So drivers now still 6 seconds off pace. We're 3 minutes into our qualifying session, and no serious lap times as of yet. So keep an eye on all the drivers.
Look at Eric Beddoes topping the charts right now over Turner and Jewsbury, Stelflug, Gutnik, really trying to put some times down with a 1:26.563. That's still a good half second. Looks like now they're starting to come in a little bit. Wow, I guess you were right there, Lewis. I guess looking from the outside perspective, it's a little different. These guys really starting to tear it in. Aaron Jewsbury right now up at the top.
Yeah, and this is a new driver. I mean, we have, we were going back early, we have very little information on Jewsbury. He's a new entry for this week, part of XRL Racing. And his teammate, I'm not sure if he's here on the grid. No, Jonathan Lilly is his teammate. So a full team tonight. A new entry for our round 12. So yeah, keep our eyes on those guys. Obviously, a 124 is just a second and a half, maybe 2 seconds off what I expect probably a mid 22, something like that. We're just seeing Height on the outlap and Ribeiro on the outlap, and of course, Ribeiro and Height were our top 2 finishers in the last race. So Height winning and Ribeiro second at his home Grand Prix, and Matt Turner taking third. And we've got none of those drivers even close to the top yet, so many things I do predict are going to change. It's not too hard on the track limits, this track either. You can, like you say, you can push the car quite hard when the tyres are warm, and you can have some fun at this circuit for sure. As we see Matthew Stelflug there with a 24.1, slowly creeping the times down. Anyone's bag at the moment.
Yeah, when we take a look here at the track temperature and everything going on there, it's not really too bad. It's 87 degrees right now at the surface track temperature, so it is creeping up on a little warm. But as this qualifying session winds down and we get through the race, it should start cooling down just a little bit and give these guys just a little bit more grip around this really intense racetrack. You really got to be careful around these winding turns because not only are they kind of flat turns, but they have a lot of elevation up and down between the turns as well.
This is it, and that for me is imperative to a fast lap time. The driver that understands the ups and downs as much as the lefts and rights on a circuit like this. I mean, it's really hard in a sim as well because that is the one thing you don't feel. As we see Turner there slapping in with a 1:23.7, sticking it at the top of the board. Again, still think we're some way off the time. We're only 6 minutes into this session. Only just seeing some of these tyres come in, but yeah, the driver that can read the ups and downs as well as the left and rights are the drivers that can confidently get on the brakes and confidently get on the accelerator. I mean, there's a nasty bump. It's not so much of a bump, but it's more of a crest coming out of turn 2, where the track goes from being relatively flat to quite steeply downhill. And of course, that is the one thing you can't feel in a sim. You can't feel that gyro as you go over that bump like you would in real life. You'd feel the car go light like you're going over a bridge, and you'd feel the natural lift in your throttle. But you don't get that sensation. There's one at the end of turn 6 as well. As you're coming out, it just goes over the hill, and that's just when you want the power. So again, a catchy moment on a cold tyre, but on a hot lap when you're pushing, it's a driver that can read these bumps and ups and downs that can really bury their accelerations and their braking zones and gain that extra advantage. As we see a spinner behind a couple of laps, that's not going to help anyone. Fiddly section, that one. Sector 2 on this track is a nightmare. It's totally different to the whole rest of the circuit. Very tight corners, gnarly curves that you can't really touch, and again, as we were saying, no runoff for anybody anywhere.
Yeah, we're taking a look here at Alexander Shana. He's coming in currently 6th right now, but right behind him on the board, Caitlin Height put her second lap down with a 1:24.6, just under a second off as Shana moves to the top of the boards, and Stelflug right behind him with the toe is going to take the top spot with a 1:23.638.
This is all getting very close at the top, isn't it? As we're starting to peel down into what should be I reckon the 1:22 area. We've still got some time to go, but not what we expected up at the top of the times there. Height a bit behind what maybe she's got a couple of, and Turner there extends brings the times down to a low 1:23, so we're getting closer to that 22, which I think is going to be our pole time. But it's not the names we'd think at the top, is it? Currently, right now, we have a Cuda Works lockout at the front provisionally, and Shana. Let's talk a little bit about Alexander Shana here. He's returning from the F2 grid to the F3 grid for the first time in a while. So he hasn't driven this car in probably close to 6 months. So we will be keeping our eye on Shana tonight to see how well he can bring back the glory of the Lumos team. And right now he's sat in P3, so this is a good session so far for him as Gutnik improves on his lap time, but only good enough for P4. Height improving on her time, but only good enough for P5. Buddy Boggs in provisional P6, Beddoes in P7s, as we see Stuart Gibbons there, pushing himself up the timing board to P6. Shana moving his way to P2. Tyres are coming in now, Rob. We're 10 minutes into this session. Oh, as we see a Ryan car there, just pushing too hard in turn 2.
Either Matt Turner is having... Oh, no, we're having camera problems. Matt Turner was having some, looked like some connection issues here in qualifying. That could, this race gets pretty close together. That could cause a little bit of trouble during the race.
Yeah, seeing the same thing. He was purple in the first 2 sectors there, but he must have had a massive off there because he was 10-12 seconds on the long lap there. Shana on another out lap, Stelflug on an in lap, and Height putting her car closer to the front. So we had some interviews before the race, and we do happen to know that Caitlin doesn't feel as comfortable on these specific venues as she does on the previous venues, the American tour, which we've just been in 6 venues, all in that North American Union there. So moving right across the other side of the planet for a bunch of circuits that just aren't as driven as much. I mean, we're finishing with Suzuka, but Twin Ring Motegi and obviously this one are lesser used circuits. So I think that might be why we're seeing a bit of a tighter crunch at the start, but at the front of this. But Alex Gutnik there sitting in P6, Gibbons in 7th, Boggs in 8, Beddoes in 9, Dewsbury in 10th now. So again, what we saw in practice there doesn't seem to be an accurate reflection of the heat set in qualifying, as we keep our eye on Dewsbury to see if he can get that car a little bit higher up, closer to his teammates at P4 now. Excellent.
Yeah, Jonathan Lilly popped up to P4 with a 1:23.559 as Matt Turner turns his fastest lap yet, a 1:22.699. That's more towards the pole lap you were looking for there, as Caitlin Height moves up to second with a 1:23.098. So can Lilly put it on pole? He wasn't as far off as he looks.
I'm getting the sauce out, Rob.
He does improve his time to a 1:23.370. Just 7/10 off Shana in 3rd position. So Lilly putting down some great pace here in qualifying. I expect to see the same in the race.
This is already hotting up, and we have got ages left. We've got another 15 minutes of qualifying. This session seems to be going on for a long time. I don't know if it's just you or me, but we've seemed to have had a lot of lap exchanges already in this only half of this session. But we I'm getting the sauce out, Rob. I've gone to the cupboard, I've got the barbecue sauce out, and I'm spreading it all over the sandwich. This is looking like a great race already.
Yeah, and look what we had just 5 minutes ago. We had Matt Turner and Matt Stelflug, both Cuda Evo cars, battling for the top spot. Turner's still up there, and Stelflug's down now to 6th place. That's how close these guys are all running. The top 6 are all within 1 second of each other. Brandon Walker moves his way up to 7th, and that moves the top 7 all within about a second of each other. So there's a lot of toe in here. You got to get a second away from these guys to really get that toe to go away. So this group of guys up here front, at least the top 7, 8, and maybe even 10, with how close these guys are going to be stuck together. If we don't have a lot of mistakes, we can see some really close pack racing here today.
I think you're exactly right. I was just about to mention the close times in quali. It gives hope to everybody. Those top 6 or top 7, sorry, will be thinking, I've got pace today. I've got pace to be in the front of this pack. So whatever goes on, you feel the right to be in that front pack, and there's a lot in that time bracket, isn't there? It's not. We've seen a couple of these F3 races that have just gone by where Cristiano Schegerman, which I will say we haven't seen him tonight. In fact, I don't think I've seen a pink car tonight. So no Corey Schatzer, no Cristiano Schegerman. So just a shout out to wherever you are tonight, guys. If you're watching this, or if you can't get to the racing time tonight, you've got a little bit of time. Bless and condolences, and hopefully we see you at the next round, as Matt Turner is smacking in the purple sectors, and he really isn't the person that needs to be doing this, because he's already on the lead, as we see him improve only by a second. So we are coming up against the limit of the timing board, but
Caitlin Height improves to a 1:22.777, so just 11/10 off, or 11/100ths off, I should say, of Matt Turner. So she is coming there.
1/10 to separate pole, and then only another 2/10 back to Lily. And again, we have no, as we were talking about this leading up to this qualifying session, about Lily being an unquantified force, and obviously Dewsbury as well, a little bit back at the moment. Can't quite find the pace of his teammate there, just 1.2 seconds back. It's interesting developments, isn't it? Height's got a title to think about. Turner has a title to think about. If he can win this race and break some momentum going through the specific leg where Katie is weak, and win a couple of 2 or 3 races here, it's going to bring him very much back into contention, as I think Cristiano is going to slip further down. If he doesn't come today, Caitlin's going to extend her lead, and we know Matt's 3rd in the title. And he's been on the podium a whole bunch recently, so and this is just going in line with that. So Matt looking like he's having a phenomenal day again. Stelflug back there in P6, just not quite able to bring the heat like his teammate there. As Walker shoots up to 4th place there, so anyone's game today, Rob. Anyone's game. This is, I feel, going to be an intense race.
And Caitlin brings it even closer, 1:22.748. Still can't break that that time she's going to pull off and possibly get some new tires and try to go after it one more time.
She'll have that one stint left now, won't she? That'll probably be the fuel load done. Because you don't run a lot of fuel with these cars, and obviously you have to burn about 3 or 4 laps worth to really get those tyres up. As we see, it was sort of 9 minutes until we saw any sensible lap times. Get those 2 or 3 laps like we've just seen from that sort of 9 to 10 minute bubble up to sort of now your 16-minute bubble, and then now you get your second bite. So we'll take a momentary lapse as Gibbons shoots up to P6. So a good weekend for him. That's a fantastic showing for that team. They've been slowly working their way up from the beginning of the season with, I think, Gibbons there bringing in some good points for this team. And Nicholas Marshall there sat, again, it's not often we see him behind his new teammate Gibbons, so hopefully they can both score points today. But Gibbons looking great there in P6. Pushing Steltflug down to P7, furthering the gap between him and his teammate. Tense stuff there.
It looks like the Gibbons is just in front of Jonathan Lilly. Might be giving Lilly a little bit of a tow, and just that little bit. I mean, he's only a couple tenths off of Caitlin Height. If he can catch some tow from an unexpected Wolfpack racing car, he might get enough to be able to take the front row away from Caitlin Height.
Yeah, that's it. These advantages in what you would call that orchestration between one car and another. There are advantages to be gained, obviously at certain tracks more than others. There would be a small advantage gained to do that. You would have to be very good within your team, and you'd have to be on the blower, and you'd have to be making sure that the advantage was gained where it was gained, and then said car gets the hell out of the way, because you're gonna gain a couple 2 or 3 tenths down that straight, and then you're going to lose it again straight away going through turn 1 and 2 through those fast corners. Or, but again, this is something that the teams have got plenty of time to practice in their spare time, and if anyone has done this, you can use it to bring heat. But at the moment there, we see these top 3 at least being able to do this. Top 3, 4, 5. I don't see any team play going on between these top bunch, and they're all managing to get their laps in without that help. So we're in for a sterling race as we close down on the final 7 minutes of this qualifying session. We see Matt Turner in the pit lane now, so he's just going to come out, I think, for another go. It's going to be close whether he's going to get his tyres excited enough for a second run. Height there, way back off the pace, desperately trying to get the heat into these tyres for a couple of 2 or 3 free qualifying laps at the end of this session.
Rory Collins just put down his fastest lap, 1:24.865. That's good enough for 12th place at the moment right now. And if we look down here at the 10th place and below for those 5 or so, the 10th through 15th, they're not really too far off. Nicholas Marshall and Steve Bundy seem to lack just a little bit of pace from these other guys, but really the 4 or 5 there are all separated between 7/10 of a second, 8/10 of a second. So we'll have a good battle for the front pack, but we'll also have like a mid-pack battle going on here with these new drivers coming out to figure out this F3 car.
Keeping an outline on the things that we saw in practice session. We've got a steady spread. Excuse me. Like you were saying, with that front 4 or 5 there, they've got that consistent lead pace. But it just starts to work its way down. The 23.5, the 24, 25, the 20, it just breaks down slowly. So although you'll get that midfield, each driver's only going to be just a little bit above or below the car around them. And obviously you've got that cold tyre phase as well, and pit stops, and so the race is going to come from getting the start right, opportunistic moments. We're going to see crashes, we're going to see people avoidance and things like that. And hopefully none of these lead drivers, we wish that everybody gets around safe, but it just never seems to happen, does it? We never seem to get a fresh race. But we've just got 5 minutes left of this session now, so if these guys want to improve on their times, now is the time to do it, as we look down to see if any of these guys are improving.
Well, if you want to talk about the practice times, you said they weren't completely indicative of race times, but Brandon Walker was on top of the charts for practice, and he's currently in P4. He's on his first lap. Looks like he might have went off track there a little bit, but he's going to be warming up his tires. And with 4 minutes to go, I think he's got about 2 laps. He can really push on that last lap and possibly get himself up into the top 3, or maybe even onto the podium, onto the front row. He's not really that far off from Caitlin Heights, 1:22.748. Only about a half a second off. So if he can pull out something, he might be able to get up there a little bit.
That's it. I mean, again, a little bit of an unquantified force there. We don't really have too much information about Brandon Walker. We know that he joined with that yellow car just a couple races ago, his first race in Austin, and he was a little bit beaten up around Austin, so I don't think we saw the best of Brandon Walker. And we know he's got speed, and again, he's up there today with some of the best times. So we will be looking at Brandon to see what he can do today in that car. And like you said, there's just a few laps left, and I think those couple of front drivers there, Turner and Height, are just in the heat of the moment, when the adrenaline's buzzing and the qualifying session is real and you're there. I think there's just some drivers that struggle with that pressure and some drivers that just come alive in that pressure. I think Matt Turner's one of those that just gets his head down and when the moment is raw, as we saw back in Canada when on that mega race where we had 4 safety cars and just the heat was on and just it was just about keeping your head. And he won the race, and it all came down to the last second to last corner on the last lap, and it just showed that underneath, even though some of the weekends where Matt hasn't quite got the pace to race Caitlin, his racecraft is incredible. And today we've got a couple minutes left as we see Matt actually right now come into the pit lane, so I don't think that is it, that we would definitely not be able to get out and excite that car enough to improve on that lap there. So it is down to Height, Lilly and Walker to see if they can deny this man from pole position today, Rob. Maybe we should go on board. Maybe we should stick on board with Caitlin if this might be a challenging lap for pole. This and maybe the next lap. As she just got a puff of dirt there. But it depends on where you get that puff. And obviously how much depends on whether it kills your speed there. We'll keep our eye on the sector times. I feel like she's the only person today that can deprive Matt Turner of pole position as we close down on the last minute of qualifying. She will get round to another lap. If she doesn't bin it, she will get this lap and potentially one more chance to deny Matt Turner from pole. And we know it means a lot to Caitlin as well. We know she puts in a lot of effort. She's on a title charge. We know this. She's super focused. She will be doing everything she can right now. As we see the car just in front of her there, we've got a Lumos car just in front with a puff of smoke. It just gives you that distraction. And there's 30 seconds to go, so she's going to get to the line in time for another lap. As we're just looking now, all 3 sectors of Caitlin have been yellow, so not personal, not enough to improve so far. So we will stay with Caitlin just for this last lap. In turn 1 now, it's a super committed complex this, and you've got to pick the cutback right for turn 2.
Now that was a 1:23.2. Do you think she was possibly kind of conserving just a little bit, making sure those tires were nice and ready to just push this car to the limits for the last lap?
To attack this lap. She's yellow in the first sector, so not personal best. She's going to be giving it absolutely everything as we see a blue car in front of her go up in the air, but I don't think that's
and it takes her out!
Oh, it spins her out! No way! We will not see... Oh, okay, what a climatic end to qualifying.
Alexander Shana in the Lumos car gets loose, pops back out onto the track, and it looks like either netcode or just barely clips Caitlin there.
She's still on the track.
Still on the track, but she's not going to be able to complete that lap. Brandon Walker is coming through. and Alex Gutnik are still on the racetrack. So Walker trying to improve his time. And Alex Gutnik currently in 9th place, goes off track. That's not going to do anything for him. So Brandon Walker's the only person that's going to be able to improve anything here in the rest of qualifying. And it seems like he's going fairly slow. It looks like he's not doing anything. So I think that is going to be the end of qualifying.
I think we saw the peak of the session conditions in the first stint. I do think so. We didn't really see many improvements happen after the drivers had returned to the pit lane in that first phase, did we? After minute 16, 17, we didn't really see much progression there. Everybody had a second bite there. I don't think anybody improved, really. So, that, ladies and gentlemen, gives us our order. Matt Turner there, taking our pole position. I think that might be his first pole. I'll have to check this, but it might be his first pole of the IFL. I'm sure. If it's not, it will be one of his only pole positions in the IFL, and a well earned as well. There's only 1/10, and you know it's a tight session, and Height was giving it everything in that session. So we see Matt Turner in first, Caitlin Height in second, lining up on the front row. Jonathan Lilly on his first race with the IFL, sticking it on the second row there. So great opportunities for him on his first race back. Jonathan, we see Walker there on the fourth row, and we've got Alexander Shana. Despite his late spin there, his time was good enough for the third row there in 5th place. Aaron Dewsbury there sat in 6th place next to Alexander Shana on the third row. On the fourth row, we have Stuart Gibbons and Matthew Steltflug in 8th. Finally, really unable to catch his teammate there as some 8/10ths down, and you know they're going to be sharing data. So Matt Turner with a sterling pole lap there. Alex Gutnik there in 9th, lined up alongside Rory Collins. Victor Ribeiro quite some way behind where he started this last race. I think he started maybe 2nd or 3rd last time out. Buddy Boggs in 12th, Eric Beddoes in 13th, Nick Marshall in 14th, and Steve Bunting in 15th. Those guys managing to peel down their times. They weren't so far off towards the end, so we'll be looking there to see if they can bring some of this up when there's some damage and things. If you've got some crashes up ahead, we know that Nick and Steve are good at getting through all that sort of stuff. So it's an exciting race. It's an exciting race as we just coming into this warm-up session now. These drivers have got about 4 minutes left to just iron out any creases, entrances and exits to pit road, any strategy changes and thoughts, and any calm thoughts and meditative thoughts and things that these drivers want to put themselves through before you can't, and the stresses and strains of a race are on, and the time and the clock goes, and that's it. Eat on the table for what can seem sometimes over an hour when you get a few safety cars. But these F3 cars, obviously, they do 50% F1 length, and the last time the Formula One visited this location, they did an epic number of up there in the 80-something laps. So these guys are doing a 45-lap race today, as we see some clouds forming over now as well. So as these clouds it's a pretty partly cloudy day as well. So if the sun does come out, it comes out for a little while, and we're going to see some track temperature fluctuations. So again, something for the drivers to think about and read as we progress into an evening, as the sun will set probably quite close to the end of this race.
So what do you think the keys are going to be for a successful race here at Okayama? It's a fast course, but the corners can catch you off guard. These F3 cars, they don't have as much power as the F2 drivers as we saw yesterday, but they still have quite a bit of power for the weight that these things are pulling. So what are the couple keys that it's going to be with a 45-lap race at a track this fast? What do they got to do to make it to the end and stand on top of that podium?
The formulae for success, as it were, in my prediction. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? You've got two cars in our series that we run. We run an F2 car and an F3 car, and obviously one's got double the power of the other one, and obviously roughly double the downforce as well. So both cars top out roughly the same. You could probably get both cars singing around 160, 170 miles per hour. And it's just the way they perform, the way they get there, the speed they can travel around the corners, the acceleration, the braking performances, and that really set these cars apart. So I think the success for today is track position. I really do think that Matt has put himself in the best place he can to give himself the best possible start to this race. Obviously, the launch is just as important as getting in position, and we know Caitlin is very good at launches. You can spin up and be nowhere in half a second. You know that. So we've got to get to that turn 1 in first, and we know that looking at the grid, Matt is on the outside. So if Caitlin can get a good run, she's got the inside, like we saw in the F2 race. Lauren got the run on me into turn 1. I had the outside on pole, but she got just a slightly better start, and that fed her into turn 1. But it fed me into turn 2, back the right way again. It keeps the fight on, and obviously if they do go side by side, you got a couple of drivers, Lily and Walker right behind there, are going to be dicing it straight away whilst those guys are conceding to each other fighting.
So the question, I guess, is going to be here with 30 seconds left to go in the warm-up before we go racing. Matt Turner is our pole sitter, but still here, even through the warm-up, we continue to see some connection issues. You know as I do, the field follows the leader along into turn 1, and if that leader disappears, that could cause quite a bit of chaos in the first lap or two.
Yeah, that's it. Although we don't like to talk about it, and we don't like it to be a part of our races, it very much is. Some weeks worse than others, but it very much depends on each individual driver's connection speed and how iRacing is performing that day, and how long it has been since they've updated the servers and things like that, as we see our warm-up come to an end and we'll see our drivers grid up. But yes, you're very right, we will be keeping an eye on Matt Turner's connection status, just to see, in the worst case scenario, you'll see a car moving about a little bit, obviously irrespective of what the driver's actually doing, and you can come to contact with drivers around you, and yeah, sometimes it can get pretty saucy. It hasn't been too as we see, he's flashing already on the line there, so yeah, we definitely got to think about it. But yeah, it hasn't been too fundamental on our challenges. We haven't seen so many issues, but yeah, hopefully today we get an issue-free race. But yeah, it doesn't look good for Matt, does it, with his connection issues there? He's just sat on the line there, pinging every sort of 30 seconds. He's buzzing in and out, isn't he?
Good luck, everybody. Have fun. Frankie for 2051.
So we keep an eye on our very, very brightly coloured F3 grid there. So we have Matt Turner on the right, Height on the left.
And there we go.
We go through our light sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As Matt flashes again, dearie me. As we light
Caitlin Height moves. She might have gotten a false start. She moved before the lights went out.
Whoa!
Big mistake possibly for Caitlin Height as we go through the field.
Lily sweeping in hard on the outside there. This is good. He's already up the inside of Height. Height thinking about her championship very much. Lily is just but she's keeping it side by side. Brandon looking at this fight from the back end. Matt getting away in the lead. This is beautiful stuff. Caitlin getting the inside and Brandon on the outside under attack from Dewsbury. Dewsbury trying to keep faithful on the outside. He keeps the throttle in, but I think Brandon's inside line is just going to keep him safe there as they go side by side. But Height managing to get back in front of Lily there, taking a defensive line into the hairpin. Matt very much in the lead of this race as we're looking like a three-way fight behind for... Oh, this is close. No crashes so far. Everyone looking nice and clean as we go into the tight section 2 of this race. Matt Turner's lead has come right down.
Oh, we see someone. No, that was Dewsbury. Dewsbury goes around. He's off track. I think everybody keeps going. Meadows looks like he got a little bit, and he was off track. And Caitlin Height is taking the lead from Matt Turner. Matt Turner's fallen down to 4th. Under attack from Brandon Walker. And now Alexander, Shana, and Gutnik are having issues. Looks like they've got their cars straightened out. Wow. And Caitlin Height goes off.
Whoa! What? We're going to see that on the replay. Unbelievable. Race development. Unreal. Unreal. What happened? What happened?
Caitlin Height entered the pits.
The yellow was thrown. But she was already out the lead. Lily already in the lead and Turner in 3rd. What have we seen? What did we see there? How did we end up with the positions that we've got now? Unreal. Unbelievable. We've got Lily in the lead from Walker, from our pole sitter Turner, who I cannot tell you if he's got any damage or not, but he is clearly not where he's supposed to be.
Well, here is, looks like the overtake.
You see a replay now. Caitlin under a bit
Turner
of pressure.
just goes wide.
No way! So that's how he goes down to behind those two. And how does this happen?
Caitlin Height just takes her pit stop. I don't know if she got some damage at the beginning of the race, but she just took her pit stop.
So she did get a jump start. You were right.
So she was taking her drive-through, but a caution came out, so I wonder if her drive-through actually got taken care of or not.
She may get another penalty for pitting when it was closed.
Oh, man.
Depends on the timing. It depends on the timing, but either way, Height's at the back of the grid. And it doesn't, obviously,
we'll take
we know...
a look. What happened with Alexander, the two Lumos cars?
Yeah, the actual crash that stopped this all in the first place. What happened? Very
Looks like
close there.
Turner comes back in.
Tries to keep
Shana goes wide, and Gutnik, he just spins out in front of him.
Oh,
And
very
then
unfortunate
Gutnik gets kind of sideways in the grass and slow. And there's your caution, but wow, all cause from Matt Turner just going a little wide and coming back on the track. He didn't really necessarily enter the track unsafely. It's just when you're that much slower than everybody else, it just bottlenecks you up that much faster.
You see the knock-on effect. It's like ripples in a pond, isn't it? Matt was actually quite far away from that when it all kicked up as well. So you've got his initial off, which creates the opportunity for the two in front, and then the two behind go in front of him. Obviously, they'll have their moment, and then Alex, presented with that three wide, just does something a little bit different than he did the lap before, and round his car comes, and really, really, really unfortunately there, we see him collect his own teammate, which is absolutely the worst thing that can happen when you set your sights in for a weekend and you go racing with your pals, and the closest person to you that weekend will be your teammate. You're talking pit strategies and you practice together all week and you build up a relationship together, and moments like that don't help ever. It doesn't matter if they're by accident or in a heated moment. They definitely, I don't think, were racing there. That was just a straight up bad timing there. But yeah, so with everything in mind, to update on what we've got going on now, we've got a safety car period for at least another 2 laps. The drivers will get an opportunity to pit and replace or fix their damage or refuel or tyres and things like that on the last of these laps. Jonathan Lilly has got himself there up into first place, so he is looking mega. It kind of all just unfolded for him there, didn't it? Right at the end of that lap, he was sitting something like P4, and then Matt had his moment. Caitlin had to come in for a pit, and it just opened the doorway. But and they're winners and losers. Brandon sat in second. So this is great opportunity for him for redemption for what happened in Austria.
And look who's sitting in 4th now. Victor Ribeiro. He's moved up 7 positions from his starting position. He's up in 4th. 7 spots in 2 laps. Now, we had a couple cars did go off track, but up 7 spots. That's a man to watch for. He's always been fast. I believe he's got a few podiums here with the IFL F3. So definitely not one to rule out. He hasn't really been around too much, but when he does show up, he really puts it on. And right now he's splitting up the Cootie Works guys with Turner and Snowflake sitting there in 4th.
Yeah, that's it. He certainly brought the heat, didn't he, in Brazil? That was an absolutely mega race. He came out of nowhere, and it seemed to be the only one to bring it to Caitlin. He was faster than Shegetman that day, wasn't he? Another quick mention to Shegetman. It's a shame that we've got no pink cars on the grid today. It's a shame for the team manager, Louis Cologne, as well, to see his team not sat on the grid this week. But, yeah, so updating to how we see this race, we're going to have a heavily defensive Lilly there from a very opportunistic Walker. This is a great chance for him to redeem himself from the battle at Austin there. And Matt Turner, we know he's going to be sitting there thinking things like, I've got the best pace on the grid, and Caitlin, my main title rival, is sat right at the back of the grid, and she won't be there for very long. If we know anything about Caitlin Height, she does not stick around at the back. So he's got to get his head in the game and onwards. And like you say, Victor Ribeiro with stunning racecraft there, brought himself up to P4 already. So,
but at the same time, Caitlin has to watch out. I believe she's already used her fast repair. So she's got another 38 laps that she's got to make it without making any mistakes, without catching any damage, without getting run over by somebody, anything. She doesn't have a fix. Any damage she's got, she's going to have to sit on pit road and wait for that damage to get fixed. Not really good, not the way you really want to start a race on lap 2, especially when you jump to start and make a mistake already at the beginning. So a tough break for Caitlin Height. She's going to be working pretty hard to work up from that 14th position she's in right now. But I believe once we get to the stripe, we should be getting the 1 to go signal. The lights should be coming off on the pace car when we go back racing.
Yeah, and obviously, so the next thing we've got to talk about is what we're seeing now from only Matt Turner seems to be moving around on his tyres there. As we see Stelpflug there, the other works team, having some connection issues, disappearing and reappearing in there. That's an uncommon thing, isn't it? 2 teammates having the exact same issue in the same race. Obviously, one of them we know is in the UK and one of them's in America, so it's incredibly bad luck there. But yeah, and he seems to be disappearing quite frequently as well. This is a bother for the other drivers around because the car disappears and reappears right in front of you. So yeah, some tensions building up. What we've got to look for now, we've got to look for Shana and Height, who clearly have got some heat today, have got to make their way through this grid. And Matt Turner's got to get away while he still can. This is a great opportunity for Matt Turner to pull some points on Caitlin Height while she's having a bad day. She jumped the start all by herself. That was nobody else's fault but her own, and she's ended up, I feel, at the back of the grid more so for that than anything else. When we pulled this safety car, she'd have stayed at the front and she'd have been there in the lead. And Matt would be in P4 right now, but her own mistake there costing her. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered. The grid was so close together, she'd have ended up last anyway. But it's all to play for. And like you said, she's been successful on some occasions coming through this grid in this season, and not in others. We see her have a bit of bother at Road Atlanta, and we see her have a bit of bother at Watkins Glen and things like that, and just getting back through this grid. And she's got everybody to pass now, the whole grid. Lights off on the safety car, so we are in this lap. And Jonathan Lilly, on his first race back for a long time, finds himself dictating a safety car restart. So we'll see how well he can deal with this from a pack of basically drivers that know what they're doing with this each week.
Yeah, we gotta keep an eye out on Alex Gutnik. He's in 6th place. He did have to take a pit stop, and I believe, actually, it looks like Gutnik didn't take a pit stop after that incident. So, not sure if he's gonna have a little bit of damage or not.
Yeah.
We'll have to keep an eye on that.
That's very bizarre. You're right, because if by ordinary circumstances, he should have many parts missing. He definitely clouted the side of that car significantly. So that is very interesting. I mean, I'm just going to have a look now. I mean, it doesn't look phenomenally. It doesn't look like he's got any damage, which I'm just absolutely amazed by. Absolutely amazed by.
Yeah, maybe it feels just fine and he wants to wait and see what he can do. Keep that track position you were talking about so much at the beginning of the race.
No,
it's going to be hard to get past our people here once it gets spread out a little bit. So that track position is going to be very key.
Yeah, it's just difficult to overtake when the braking zones are short, isn't it? When you've got a long straight with the long braking zones, we see the safety car come in, and I think Lily's gone already.
Lily has.
He's already gone, and I think in doing so, he's caught the whole. Oh, look at this, he's absolutely gone. But yeah, good stuff as we see a big spread. I think he may have caught everybody napping there. There's some big gaps coming down already. There's a good few tenths.
And Jonathan Lilly goes off.
Oh, he manages to tag somebody else. Lily's off. Oh no. No.
Brandon
Lily's
Walker.
off into turn 1, and his teammate as well into turn 1. Unbelievable luck for the new XRL team. How? So Brandon Walker's in the lead for the first time in his IFL career. Unbelievable. Let's see how this man deals with the pressure as he already tries to cut the toe. As we see Lily spinning into turn 1. No, losing it all by himself. He will be the biggest kicking. He will be kicking himself so hard right now. And in that same corner, 5 positions behind that, his teammate connected with Stuart Gibbons and do you see Gibbons enter the pit now? Unbelievable action there coming into the first, out of the first safety car period there, as Walker is sitting in the lead there from his own sister team counterpart there. We've got an Evo car in front of a works car. Matt will not be happy with this at all.
Turner is putting on a lot of pressure to Brandon Walker right now. Turner, that hungry veteran. Brandon Walker, that young gun. I think this is his second or third race here of the IFL. He's hungry, ready for something. And Matt Turner is definitely, he's 0.6 of a second behind, but it looks like Walker's actually pulling just a little bit on Turner. So if Walker could just keep this pace up for a little while, he'll get himself in a good spot to just sit down and let the race come to him. Because at the moment, Victor Ribeiro is all over Matt Turner. So if Ribeiro can put a little bit of pressure on Turner, that'll give Walker a little bit of a chance to try to break away just a little bit from these guys. As we see Caitlin Height already up to 8th from 14th on the move.
I think Boggs is off. I think Boggs is, he's off into turn 2, off into the gravel. He's connected with the barrier there. So that's why with Caitlin Height is already back up to 8th position. See, this is why Matt Turner's got to get on with it. But Brandon, I think, has got the pace to hold this for a while. I mean, like we said, it's a difficult thing, and I definitely think Ribeiro smells something on the cards here. He's up there with these guys, breaking away with them. I mean, we've got a significant gap now from Ribeiro back to Stelflug there, and Gutnik there holding his place in 5th with that little bit of damage on his front wing on the side. We did see a little bit there, but Brandon holding his pressure, holding tension well in first place there. And it's incredible, isn't it, when you've never been presented with that thing, and then you are. And this is lap 6 of 42. He's got a long way to go as we see Turner getting an incredible slipstream there, looking to go to the outside. Brandon taking defensive line. Ooh, this is close. Oh, he got past on the outside. Insane. Is there anything he can do? And Ribeiro is going to be looking all over this. As soon as these guys, they lost a little bit of time there, a crucial point on the track. As we see Hyatt gain another place as she overtakes Steve Bunting there. Incredible stuff. Incredible stuff. Can Matt keep the pressure as Walker gets a tremendous exit out of the bottom of the hairpin there? He's going to be on to Matt now into the hairpin. What can we do?
Yeah, Caitlin Height now 7 seconds behind the leader right now. So even though she's in 6, she's got 7 seconds. She's got a gain to catch these guys up. They're battling a little bit. They need to get themselves in line, get themselves in a settled position, and they need to start moving.
Victor's got to play this one well. You're very right. We've got to keep our eye on Kate coming through. She's just done Collins as well, so she, like you said, she's in P6. But Victor's got to keep his head smart here. I just think Matt is using that superior pace now. We're just seeing it in this tight section. It seems to be the winner today. I think he's just getting the game. And I think we are now going to see Ribeiro more in Walker's toe than Walker in Turner's toe. As we're seeing, Bunting's off. Bunting's off. Oh, we see Bunting backwards in the last section there. Unfortunate there for him.
Off in the grass.
Gets it round. I don't think he was in anybody's way. So bad to worse for Bunting there. Tight fighting.
And Ribeiro lost some time to Walker. Lost almost half a second to him. Not sure exactly what happened there.
Maybe a little moment there into turn 1. We know that first couple of corners there are super committed, as we see our leader there blipping in and out, but he's not close enough to anybody for it to matter netcode wise, so he can just get on with his day. He is a good 1.2 seconds in front now, so Walker very much having to do what he can to keep Ribeiro off there. I think he's just trying to break away from him as well. As we look back to see where Height is, how close is she? As we see Gutnik there lock up.
We've got a good 3-way battle for 8th. This Shana spins out right in front of Jonathan Lilly and Eric Beddoes.
Unbelievable. Oh!
Lilly makes it through, but he gets into Beddoes. Beddoes definitely going to have a little bit of damage. Still trying to get back on the racetrack. Wow.
As expected, we see another safety car. Rob Carr still flying off track left, right and centre. This is going to spice things up even more. Crazy stuff we're seeing from round 12. This is a title deciding race, I feel, Rob. There's something going on today. Turner's in the right position. Height's on the back foot. Turner needs to succeed. Turner needs to do everything he can in these last rounds. He's got 7 rounds to bring this fight. He's one of the only people that can in the points so far that can bring this with the momentum that we know Height's got. This is crazy stuff. This is crazy stuff. Let's just talk about the championship for a minute. We know with the momentum Height's got that she never scores badly. So even in the rounds where she doesn't win, it's on the podium or fourth, or we just know as we see this is crazy stuff. A back end lock up there, and this is just calamity again. Great work from Lily there, getting around this. We see him pretty much taking off to the inside to do that. Oh, god damn. So with the title wide open now, Turner sat with a maximum 25 points right now, and Height sitting 6th place. I don't think she's going to wear that for very long. I mean, there's just so many things to go, so many things to play for. But yeah, this is exactly the sort of races that Turner needs to have to put himself back into play. It really is.
Now, how much do you think Matt Stelflug, his teammate back there in 4th, he's got Gutnik and Height behind him. How much do you think Turner's saying, hold them guys back? Or do you think Stelflug's really trying to get back up on that podium? Because Victor Ribeiro is now right in front of him, thanks to that safety car.
What a race. What a race. Unbelievable. I'm already I'm in a heightened mode now for sure. This is heating up. We're still only on lap 9, and when the safety car comes out, as we see a couple of cars come in the pit lane there to fix the damage they've got, we will see close to 30 laps more racing. There's still so much more to go from these guys. But yeah, Alex getting caught in all sorts. Shana getting caught in all sorts of drama today in that blue car on his first race back. So he will also be kicking himself. And obviously, when we were going through the practice and the qualifying sessions, he was one of the faster drivers. So he really will be kicking himself.
Yeah, and he's that crazy factor you were talking about. He just stepped down from the F2 to come race the F3. So he hasn't been driving this car very often. So you know as much as I do, it's very easy to push these cars, both the F3 and the F2 in their own respects, past the limit and make some mistakes. It's very, very easy to do. So when you don't have as much time into a car as you do another one, it does take a little while to get used to that. And with him being as fast as he was, he had some pace, but we've seen him just lose a little bit of control here and there. And luckily, it hasn't been with one of our big title contenders, but it is getting right there. You never know what's going to happen if one person spins out in front of you. That could end your race. And you said title contention, man. We're getting close. We've only got 6 more rounds after this one, and we're going to be crowning a champion here soon. Whether it's Caitlin Height winning the next few races and sealing the deal, or Matt Turner coming by and blowing it out, or Matt Turner and Caitlin Height not showing up and all of a sudden, Gutnik or Stelflug comes up and takes it. You never know what's going to happen with 6 races to go. That's still a lot of points for someone if they were to win each and every one. So it's still open for interpretation at the moment, but right now, Matt Turner is trying to keep as many points as he can between him and Caitlin Height, currently running in 5th position.
This is it. She's got, and obviously for every moment of, for every sniff of success and opportunity that Turner's getting, Height is having the exact opposite. She's having the exact feeling about her title. She's thinking, this is exactly what I don't need. I need to get back up there to my main title rival now, which is obviously Turner. We know he's pretty much the only person that can bring this now. But like I said, there's still 180 something points, including today's points, up for grabs. There's so many points left on the table. So even a brand new driver could come in and win every single race and score really well. So yeah, I mean, going back to the Alexander Shana thing as well, it's unfortunate that he's had these moments today, because we know that last season in the F2 he finished 3rd in the constructors title, and his team finished second in the constructors. His team finished second in the constructors title, and he finished third in the constructors title. So he is he's no Margot Alex Shana, and as we saw with the pace that he had, so a little bit more practice, and we will see him back up the front. I fear not.
Yeah, definitely. And Twin Ring Motegi, where we head to next week, it's the way I had talked to Shana earlier, and he had said it's a straightaway and it's a hairpin. It's a straightaway and it's a hairpin. And it's another hairpin, and then it's a straightaway, and then it's another hairpin. So he knows the track fairly well. I think he's looking forward to it. He seemed pretty excited to go there. And that's the thing is around here, there's a couple corners where you have to really watch how you get on the throttle. But when we go out there next week, it'll be a totally different animal with a totally different drive. There's going to be a lot of braking points, a lot of chances for overtaking. Whereas here, it's a very ebb and flow kind of racetrack, and you got a couple chances to overtake, and you really need to set that up.
That's it. We got Boggs there into the pits, and Marshall into the pits, trying to do something about their, I guess, damage, or trying to pull an opportunistic strategy so they don't have to pit for their mandatory pit tyres and feel maybe they can get to the end now. I should probably think so. Lap 11 of 42, yeah, I should think they should probably better get to the end on the tyre and the tank sizes that they have. But
the lights are off on a pace car. We're going to go back racing next time around.
Yep, this is it. So Matt has got another opportunity here to continue where he left off on lap 1. Obviously, we see him drop it all on his own in the hairpin and just give up that lead. And the cards have played in his favour. And he's managed to move himself back to P1. And we see that move on Brandon Walker there. So maybe Brandon will be thinking that maybe can attack Matt at the beginning. But yeah, this is it. I mean, Matt needs to just get away. He needs to just go.
Does Turner tell his teammate Stealth Luke, hey, this is when I'm going to go. So if you want to try to get a jump on the guy behind us, I can, maybe possibly get him going. Is there a little bit of team communication there to help the third place driver right now get a good start, so that way he can get another car in between him and the second place driver, or another team for that matter?
You would definitely think so, wouldn't you? I mean, we know that these guys talk on the radio together, and whilst they're racing, let's just judge that by how hard Stealth Luke fights Caitlin when she tries to come through in potentially a couple of laps' time. It's provided that she doesn't get caught up in anything in the meantime. As we see, Gibbons is just going to come around now and meet up the end of the pack there. So Height's got it all to do. She's got it all to do. She's got 30 laps to do it in. And she's got to get herself from P5 to P1 and carry on with what she was doing. But even then, I still think Matt had the superior pace today. So if Matt keeps his head down, I think it's his race to lose today. I do. It's a moment of focus now, isn't it? Second safety car. Still really, really unfortunate for Lily there. I mean, we see both of him and his teammate Dewsbury come off the worst of that safety car restart there. So hopefully they get a clean one this time. As we see, Lily started the restart last time and the pressure just got to him and he went off straight away in turn 1 with those cold tyres. And then 4 positions behind him, his teammate caught the back of Gibbons and went off also in the same corner. So tough stuff for them, but we know there's new drivers and these guys are at this week in, week out, so slack given. But that's it, just a few more corners now until Turner's got to start dictating this race lead, and more importantly how this restart comes. He's got all the way to the start finish line to do something about this, and as soon as he floors it, that'll be the green light. So we watch. He's gone already early, so everybody choosing to go early today. It worked for Lily, so if Matt thinks, why is it not going to work for me, as he's right to do so, and he gets that gap already. Oh! Oh! Another one off into turn 1. Bunting off. Bunting having a terrible day today. Unlucky that man. I think he was just sighted out by what must be an extremely cold set of tyres by now. I think he pitted as well, didn't he? So Oh, we have some things going on. We've got some positions changing. Matt has run away with this already. He's got the initial momentum, but Brandon's trying everything he can to stay with him. And we've already got height. Yeah. She's got the priority. She's done it in the braking zone. Is there anything Gutnik can do on the way back? He attempts to cut back, and we've got a lock-up. Oh, the stuff was tight behind those guys, but Caitlin getting her way through as they're still too wide in the back. Going single file now. Caitlin getting that move done. That's one off the block. She's got 2 more to do. Get back to her fight for the lead. Matt needs to just get away now. He needs to get away now. I think we've just got a raging Caitlin Height now on the way back to the front of the grid. Definitely, definitely. So we may see some sparks fly when she gets there. So Turner, very wide there on the corner from Walker. Oh. Height already coming close to Steltflug. She is really pushing her way through this grid as quick as she can, and rightly to do so. There's a whole bunch of laps left, but if Matt gets his game on, she knows that she's got roughly about the same pace, and it may take many laps to peel Matt back. You'll see her get these 2 guys done, but it might take her a long time to get Matt in. We'll see as this race goes on, but she's all over the back of Steltflug. When Matt Turner looks at this race later, he will be furious with his teammate for not blocking more and costing that Caitlin Height car there some more time. But yeah, this is brilliant. This is exactly what Height needs. This is exactly what Height needs. She just needs to get this done. Bearing in mind, we know she came from the back, so she has overtaken or gone past pretty much everybody, bar these front 2 now. This is title deciding stuff, guys. Caitlin can't let this slip. She's done an enormous job over the American leg. Oh. Brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, and she's fighting as well during that lap. So right now on these tyres, superior confidence. She is coming. She is coming. If she's half a second faster in a lap where she's fighting with other cars, then Matt is on a clean lap with nobody in front of him. Doesn't look good for Turner. Doesn't look good at all. But that's it. This is our race to watch. This is brilliant stuff. This is brilliant stuff.
Battle going on with Rory Collins and Jonathan Lilly. A little bit of side-by-side battle, and this is a battle for 7th position. Brandon Walker has got some pressure from Caitlin Height behind him already. Not sure if Brandon had an issue or not, but Caitlin jumped up really fast, up to within a half a second of Walker.
Walker seems to be this time around. So we've got a 23.5 from Turner. And a 23.8 from Height as she loses just a couple of 0.3 that time round. I feel just looking at Brandon Walker, we know as you go up the grid, as you overtake people, the competition will get harder and harder and harder as you face faster driver after faster driver, peeling it back as she's just been sat behind Brandon now for a lap and a half, which is longer than she was sat behind anybody else. So Brandon, and it's not really a fight, is it? This at the moment, it's just a little bit too far back to be called a fight. This is a pace war, and Brandon just keeping it cool, but she's just getting close enough, not quite close enough to take a lunge. Brandon keeping the apex there, doing an excellent job of keeping off our championship leader, and you know it's a lot of pressure. You know it's a lot of pressure. When the championship leader, she's got a stunning amount of points, and every point adds to the weight of that driver's momentum. And Brandon is just absolutely nowhere near her in the title. So to be up there fighting with the fastest drivers is a phenomenal effort from Walker there. as we see some close racing action going on in the back section there between the Lumos cars. But yeah, the action is tight at the front, as I think Brandon's just gapping Caitlin slightly there as well. As we look at the lap times again, we'll look at the lap times as we come over the line.
Yeah, the battle between Dewsbury and Gutnik. Turner just turns the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, this is shots fired. This is momentum pendulum, isn't it? It's swinging back and forward. I just told a couple of 2-3 laps ago, I said the momentum was swinging just in Caitlin's favour. But we see Matt Turner set 3 fastest laps in a row. And Caitlin just not managing to match those times as she loses another 2 or 3 tenths. And I really feel like Brandon now, as we see him go wide there, this will be it done. Absolutely. Absolutely. You do not need to give Caitlin Height an invite like that. She will jump in it with both feet.
But as we seen yesterday, Lewis Archer took it kind of wide and Walker took it kind of wide, and he's giving her a run for her money on the outside. He might be able to get a crossover move on the inside here. Goes way too wide in that corner to be able to do it. So Height's going to be out in front, and now she was a good half a second faster than Walker, so she will be on the charge to try to chase down Matt Turner. 3.1 seconds the gap right now. And Turner was only turning in about 0.3 of a second faster than Height when she was in dirty air. So over the next couple laps, we'll see if Height can catch Turner or if Turner is just pushing all out to get what he can out of that car.
I mean, it's a good place to be, isn't it? You've got 2 things to think about when you're in the lead. And 1 is don't think about anything. And 2 is go really far. That is all you can do. You just got to get everything to the back of your mind and just use that free track and just keep going. And as we see there, Matt sticks a 1:23.4 and Height a 1:23.6. So another 2 tenths there from Caitlin, and she is 3.3 back now. But this will be her first uninterrupted lap in, like you say, in that free air, and it is free air as well. She's got nobody in front of her. In fact, Matt is actually experiencing a little bit more turbulent air of a back marker now, right now, than Caitlin is experiencing off of anything she's dealing with as he zooms past there. Oh, Matt has got to do this. He's got to do this to keep the title alive. He just needs these wins, because this is exactly what I was saying earlier on in the race. When Caitlin has a moment like this that puts her in the back of the race, she does not spend very long there, and she ends up back up there, and she's all the way back up to P2. So barring disaster, she's minimised the damage again. She's... Oh, did we see a chunga there? He sees, yeah, he's now behind... Keeps it out the wall, brings a bit of dust and dirt back on the track for good measure. Keeping the game alive. Nope, you're right. Oh, Matt sticks a 23.3 in. Let's have a look at Height, 23.4. She loses another 10th. Matt is driving the wheels off of this car right now. He's still only 3.5 in front. It's marginal gains anywhere. We're talking smidges, we're talking meters in certain areas of the laps that these drivers have got. Oh, this is tight stuff. One mistake is going to make or break these guys' races. She's got the potential to do this. She's still keeping it well within the realms. We've got a long way to go in this race. We're still not even halfway. 18 of 42 there. Tense stuff here. Tense stuff. And between the title protagonists as well. And we've had some big luck changes in this race, haven't we? We've seen Jonathan Lilly there. He had the opportunity to lead this race and sat there behind his teammate right now, Dewsbury, in 6th place. Still an incredible result considering he had that moment into turn 1 right at the wrong place when the pack was all packed up and he went off and came back nearly last. Crazy race. A great Pacific Grand Prix as we see a spinner there go off in one of the second to last corners. Who is that?
Buddy Boggs.
A lap to Buddy Boggs. He's just going to have to just keep it there and stay out of everybody's way. As he does so, lets the traffic go by as Matt... Oh! The timing's now coming down. Caitlin, for the first time in 5 laps, takes 1/10 back out of Matt Turner. But Matt Turner's was a fastest lap of the race, followed straight by a fastest lap of the race improvement again by Height. These guys getting down into the quali zone now. Low 23s creeping down into the 22s, I shall see. These guys are both giving it everything. Absolutely everything. 3.2 now separating these guys. It is nip and tuck.
Matthew
Phenomenal.
Stelflug under fire for 4th position right now.
From a team of drivers, these guys can work together to attack this guy. Wow, I say that. We say that, but one of the key things you think about when you come into a weekend is if you can beat your teammate. The rivalry will be alive everywhere. Although you're a little bit more courteous and you tend to try to fight your teammate a little bit less, you still want to beat them nonetheless. And obviously, Dewsbury looking at the back of Stelflug here. As soon as he starts fighting with him, if he starts fighting with him, Lilly will be trying to look for a way past straight away. I have no doubt about that. He will not sit and wait for a gap. As Turner there, as we're just going to look at the timing board, a 22.3 last time, a 23.1 this time. He manages to match Caitlin Height as she goes faster again with a 23 flat and pinches another 10th.
Still
keeps going
3.1 seconds. So Turner doing a good job at keeping a fairly good cushion in between him and Height. Don't forget, we are just about to hit our halfway point. We are on lap 20 of 42. So just another lap and a half and we will hit halfway. Most of our drivers still need to make some pit stops here. Caitlin Height made that pass-through penalty. I'm not sure if she got her tires changed or if she'll need another pit stop or not. But we will have to keep an eye out on that one. But so far, I believe everybody up until like 5th place has not pitted yet. So the top 4 or 5 needing to make a pit stop is Dewsbury's really starting to put the pressure on Matt Stelflug for 4th position.
I don't know where to look. This is crazy as we see Boggs coming into the pit there. I'm assuming to fix that damage from that moment that he had just that last lap. But oh, what a crazy race it's been, and we're just going to keep our eye on the timing sectors again as Turner sticks in a fastest lap with a 23 flat, and that time Height only managing to match him. In fact, actually 5/100ths down. So I mean, I would say that's an equal lap. The gap stays the same at 3.1. Matt is just that time around. Matt's a Height's pace. This is absolutely nip and tuck, isn't it? It's just a little bit here, a 10th here, a 10th there. But we know when you like that, you're on the limit. You're on the limit. Neither of these drivers have got anything. They're improving by the rate at which the fuel is coming down in this car each lap. They're improving by half a tenth, a quarter of a tenth each lap consistently. Every time Caitlin Height manages to go that little bit faster, Turner's matched it the next lap.
And that means the only way to really get a big gap changed is for one of them two to make a mistake, and for them to stay around 3.1, 3.2. Turner's doing a great job of setting the pace for the field. As long as he doesn't make a mistake, I think he can stay out in front of Caitlin until that pit stop. And once that pit stop happens, it all comes down to driver on how fast you're willing to drive with those cold tires for that first few laps, and what kind of stuff you can gain with that. And especially coming down to it, if we're going to have some green flag pit stops, as you see as they come past the pit entrance right there, it is a very, very tight, very difficult pit entrance.
Oh, God! Sorry to butt in there, but these lap times are just stunning. Absolutely stunning. Matt peeled off a 22.967, and then Caitlin right behind picks off a 22.927. Just takes back that 5/100ths that she lost in the previous lap. The gap now at 2.9. These guys are really, really giving it absolute, and we know that if they do catch each other, that's just the start of it. The fight is on. There is nothing between these two. Nothing between these two. As I said before, the previous lap, they are improving. Every single lap, they're taking a little bit out of this racetrack that they didn't from the lap before. And it's just keeping both of them in play. I really, really can't. Kate is doing everything she needs to do to bring the fight to Matt, but Matt's doing everything he needs to do to just stay in front. This is crazy. Crazy stuff, and we've got a long way to go, Rob. We've got 20 laps to go, and like you said, there's a pit stop in this, and we know the undercut doesn't work. The undercut with these cold tyre phase, it just doesn't work. The overcut is the superior strategy with this. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Caitlin try to get in and get out and get her tyres fired up and alive.
I'm
Before
honestly,
Matt-
I'm honestly surprised right now as we see Matt Stelflug. He's gonna do it,
that exact thing.
and he's gonna try to undercut these guys and try to get out in front of them. But I think that's gonna be a bad mistake for Matt Stelflug because Dewsbury and Lilly here are running some decent pace. They're keeping it clean with each other, and they took their time getting by Stelflug. And with him going in the pits, these guys can really open up now and go. If one of them's faster than the other, they can let each other by and let it go. So I really don't see these guys slowing each other down, but maybe possibly just speeding each other up just a little bit. So it's going to be really, really tough for Stelflug to get by these two, even though they can't both pit at the same time. So that should be very interesting. I'm surprised one of them didn't try the undercut on Turner with them being kind of caught up where they were at. But at the moment, we don't have too much of a battle, just the two teammates riding around with each other. Matt Turner has lost about a tenth or 2/10 or so on Caitlin Height over the last lap and a half. It looks like he's got a little bit of dirty air from the lap car there in front of him. That could be the little bit of factor that's slowing him down. Hopefully the blue flag will allow him to get by the lap car, and that does happen down the front straightaway.
Yep. As we look at the Prix, he lost just a half a tenth on that. As he sticks another fastest lap in, and Kate, oh, bloody damn! Unfazed, that man coming through the traffic in the last section and still goes fastest. This
Height
is
still matches his pace, but not still. Once again, they're that 500th off that she's running. So when Matt, even in dirty air, is able to really push that car, so. Turner definitely has a great CUDA Works car today, and over halfway done with this race. I'm sure he's sitting pretty happy, still just over 3 seconds ahead of Caitlin Height.
This is it, and this is exactly what we, as viewers, we want to see, don't we? We want to see the title go on. We don't want to see Caitlin wrap it up so early. We've got so many rounds left to go, and she's just managed to build herself such an enormous gap. I think where we've seen that inconsistency from the challengers, where it's Cristiano 1 week, Gutnik the next week, Ribeiro the week after that. We saw some of the early challengers that aren't here with us that give her that challenge that it's an inconsistent challenge. Matt seems to be the one that's found his feet the most, and if you look back at the results, he had a bit of a slow start to this season. He definitely wasn't one of the front runners. Not by much, but he definitely wasn't one of the front runners. It took him a little while to gain momentum and luck to gain that first podium, I think, on round 7. So, but since then, oh, good God, we are seeing some track temperature conditions. We're seeing some incredible stuff here. I would just like to say right now, as a commentator watching these two drivers, this is phenomenal. This is absolutely phenomenal. Those two drivers just keep knocking back fastest lap after fastest lap, and they are just answering each other.
A 22.751 to a 22.755. That is about as close as you can get to running the exact same lap around this place.
I truly feel like we're seeing the weight of the fuel coming out of these cars, and these drivers are just going so.
Who is that sitting there right there? Who's sitting on the side of the road there?
What's that? A backwards car.
Is that Nicholas Marshall sitting on the side of the road, looking like he's just waiting to get back on the racetrack?
Yeah,
it's interesting to see our leaders go by.
I think he just chose to get so far out of everybody's way there, didn't he? But yeah, it's just the insanity of it. The two, I mean, are just every lap they're on the limit. The 2/10 that is available this lap just didn't seem to be available last lap. As we looked at the timing board again, as Matt comes over the line, not able to go faster this time. See, and this is to say they've both done the same lap again. This is bizarre. If Caitlin could have done a 22.7 that time, she'd have pinched a couple of 2-3 tenths, but he dropped down a couple tenths, and so did she. I wonder if we're feeling a difference there between a sun beating on the track, which it now is, and I don't think it was the last couple of laps. So I think that's just knocked the temperature up. Well, that shine on the track has just knocked the tenth. These guys must be so close onto the limit to be sensitive enough to be moving around with weight of the car and track temperature. This is just insane. These guys are really, really, really on the edge today. Really on the edge.
And it looks like the heat, that sun is throwing off Matt Turner just a little bit. He lost a couple tenths to height in this last lap. Gap down to 2.9 seconds now.
I'm sweating furiously, Rob. I'm sweating furiously. This is tense, and what's making it tense is just a title on the line, isn't it? It's just so much more than one race. It's all of the races you've had. It's all of the 11 weeks of prep. I mean, we've been at this season now for nearly 4 months, and it's the prep time, the every practice lap, every moment that you've debated with your team about line and setup, and the weeks that you've done not so well, and the bad luck that we see Caitlin have over the season, and the bad luck we see Matt have over the season, and it just builds and builds and builds to the story of a season. And this is the story we are seeing right now, history in the making, as we see Walker take to the pit lane now. We're quite deep into this race now, so not unnormal to see this now. Lily getting through, Dewsbury getting through, I assume Gutnik and Ribeiro will get through too, maybe even Steltford we know has pitted, hasn't he? So we'll see where he feeds out.
Currently running 8th place.
It gets past. Ribeiro gets past, and I think he's going to come out in that gap. In front of his teammate, quite a way back there, quite a way back. But, oh, this is phenomenal stuff up front. Absolutely phenomenal stuff.
Height's got the gap to 2.3 seconds now. She's really gaining. That's half a second she's gained in the last half a lap.
This is chewing.
Turner made a mistake, but riding along with Caitlin Height, you can see Matt Turner up in front of her now, starting to become a little more pronounced. She's got about 1.5 seconds to gain before she can really catch the toe coming off that car. And Matt Turner takes the pits.
This is absolutely fundamental to the race, as Caitlin opts to stay out. She'd have seen that well in time to do something about it. Pressure on now for Matt. He's got to get in and get out and do those cold tyres and just get excited, not make a mistake, but he needs to ride this track for 3 unbelievably cold tired laps. No more pressure right now than on Matt Turner. There is a win and potentially championship momentum riding on this pit stop. As we see him come out, he was in the last position on the stop he was in the last bay in the pit lane there, so we got straight back off the limiter, and as we see there come out straight behind a back marker there. Not what he wants to see is hopefully that guy will just chew out the way and not hold Matt up in this cold tyre phase. Good that man, he manages to keep high, as we would just keep an eye on Caitlin and what she chooses to do and whether she chooses to stay out. As I just see a puff of smoke there from Caitlin on the entry of that chicane, the hairpin. This is just building the tension up even more.
I have to imagine Caitlin is pushing everything she has right now. Like you said, the undercut is not the solution. It's going to be the overcut. So she is going to take this chance with these hot tires, and she is going to push as hard as she can for that lap. And now she's going to take her pit stop and hope that overcut with that 1 lap of warm tires is going to do it. Matt Turner in 4th right now. And Matt Turner's sideways on the racetrack.
Oh.
What happened there?
How much time did he lose? How much time did he lose? This is crucial. Can he? And he's lost a position to Ribeiro. This seems significant.
And now he's going to have a battle.
He doesn't want to let go of this. We're going to keep on. We'll refrain from the replay just for now, because it's still live. We're still in the fight. As we see, Matt awkwardly keeps disappearing there. This is really bad for him, but Caitlin's on the pit exit there.
She comes out almost a full straightaway ahead of Matt Turner with Matt Turner's mistake. Ribeiro's trying to do everything he can to get by Turner. They get really close through turn number 1. Turner's blinking through turn number 2.
This is bad for the person not blinking, actually. It becomes really, really hard to judge. Obviously, when you're we don't know what Matt's seeing. If he's blinking, he might be seeing the cars around him blinking, as Caitlin there seems to have just got away with that one completely. She is miles in front of Matt there. Unbelievable events there. Oh God, now Matt is in a fight for his life between Gutnik and Walker, who we know have got a pit. Gutnik and Turner. No, not Gutnik and Ribeiro, who we know has got to pit. So this is just holding him back.
Oh, and they're going 3 wide into the sweep. No, then Turner goes further off again. Huge championship implications for Matt Turner. 2 big mistakes, and here comes Brandon Walker to come try to give him something. Now, Matt Turner, all he has to do, he's currently in 6th. He's already pitted. He needs to get himself in order. He's got 33 laps to go. 13 laps to go. He just needs to set some time, and he needs to score points. Caitlin Height is out front. We've got the teammates, Lily and Jewsbury, currently out front of Height. But Height is now our leader, technically, for this race, with the two up front not pitting yet. Jonathan Lilly actually might have pitted. It looks like he had a 35-second pit time. So Jonathan Lilly, out front of the race right now, might actually have already taken his pit stop. And if he did, that puts him 12 seconds ahead of Caitlin Height.
And Dewberry did the same thing. They both pitted for the same crash on that same safety car restart, and that's why they ended up line astern coming back through the grid, with which they've stayed. Obviously, Lily's managed to swap positions and ended up in front of Dewsbury. But this is just, I can't even. I mean, there's a podium on the cards for Matt. He's got to get his head sorted out, and just keep his race alive. I mean,
it's salvage time for Matt Turner. He's still got the fastest lap at the moment. Caitlin Height still, I'm guessing with all the lap traffic and everything, she's having a difficult time really putting in some laps, and she's not trying to wear her tires down too much here at the beginning of the cold stint. But Turner still has the fastest lap of the race with a 1:22.751. So that'll at least give him 1 point as long as one of these drivers doesn't knock that time down. We'll see what happens. Height right now turning a 1:24.6, so 2 seconds off the fastest lap at the moment for Caitlin Height, with just over 12 laps to go here left in this race.
So she's still very much bringing that new set of tyres back up to heat, but she's got nothing to worry about apart from a race win here. It feels like, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe she's going to have to get her head down and go for this. Like I said, Lily has got another opportunity, and we see he had this opportunity first time round, and he made his own mistake, which cost him this win. As we see these guys really quite far up the road, really quite far up the road. They are a mile ahead, aren't they? They are a mile ahead. They're nearly 14 seconds in front. Unbelievable result for XRL. Let's see what happens in the last nearly 10 laps of this race. So let's see if Height can answer this. She's got to be quicker by over a second a lap to catch these. It's got a long way to go. I think have we still got drivers to pit? I think we do, don't we? I'm sure we still got a couple of drivers to pit. Maybe. I know Gutnik was involved in an incident, but we didn't see him pit, did we?
I don't think Alex Gutnik pitted. I think he is the only one that hasn't actually come to pit road.
So if he does pit now, he will lose a tremendous amount
I
of
don't
position.
believe Victor Ribeiro came to pit lane either. I'm seeing a pit lane time of 1 second, so I'm not exactly sure if he came pit road either, but it's going to come all down to strategy with only 9 laps to go. Lily's still out front, but Caitlin Height's not really gaining on these two very much. She's staying about 13 seconds behind Juiceberry.
Yep, she took about 5/10 out in that. She's, for the first time in a little while, she actually took the step back into the 12s there. So she into the 12-second gap. So we had a little while there where she was trying to deal with her cold tyres and just losing chunks of time, and we saw it at sort of 11 seconds and it's drifted up to 13, but now it's just started to come back down. But she's got less and less laps left. She's got 8 laps to do this. This is just, I don't think it's going to be enough. She needs to be now 1.5 seconds a lap faster than these guys. The only chance she's got left to win this race is if these guys start fighting and their teammates.
And I don't see that happening. In the laps they just turned were 1:23.7s. Height's fastest lap was a 1:22.7. So even though they're running a second a lap or so, maybe possibly slower than what Height can run, Height's not at her best. She's not at her fastest. She's not pulling down those super fast laps every lap. So in all reality, these guys are really going to actually have to make a mistake for Caitlin Height to catch up to these guys. Unless Caitlin can really start banging in some laps. But currently Matt Turner is actually just moved up to 4th position with his fastest lap of the race still standing at a 1:22.751. Not sure if Brandon Walker had a mistake or not, but Turner's going to salvage a few more points and come 1 position behind Caitlin Height. Still about 10 seconds, 15 seconds behind Height, so it shows you how big of an impact one little mistake makes. But he's still salvaging a few points here out of the race.
So if these guys don't pit, and it's true, and they go all the way to the end, then Height has lost the win based on not seeing an opportunity in the strategy when that second safety car came out. I don't think the fuel was long enough in the first safety car, but if we see these guys go all the way to the end, unless they pit within a few laps towards the end, but yeah, if they go all the way to the end and we see an XRL win, then she will have lost the race because she didn't come in on the second safety car pit and do what they did. Despite an incident, when you can pit under safety car as opposed to not pitting under safety car. I mean, both Matt and Kate have pitted at full racing speed today and lost the genuine amount of time, which is about 45 seconds on this track.
And that's the true kicker, isn't it? Because when it comes down to pit strategy, yeah, you could be up in 2nd or 3rd or even 1st when that safety car comes out, and you can make a pit stop, but your mind automatically goes, but that puts me behind everybody. And so it makes you kind of hesitate for it, and then you really think about it. You gotta really weigh your options, because you never know what's gonna happen, especially if it's a safety car like we had 2 of them early on in the race. Everybody's still kind of amped up, jittery, not really set in their ways. So you really gotta focus and pay attention at what you're gonna really do with that strategy. And she wasn't expecting anybody else to come and take away anything from her. She was focused on Matt Turner. She needed to make sure that she beat Turner. And she's currently doing that, beating Turner at the moment. But that oversight, being so focused on that one car, made her lose sight of, 2 other cars and an opportunity for a win.
Yeah, and that's it. You're very, very right. That was a very, very well put statement there. You've got to look at the race around you, and you've got to look at the other people. If you can get to the end, so can they. And you've got to be thinking, okay, I'm in 2nd or 1st or whatever the position you may be in, and you're looking at the front end of the field. You've got to read the rest of the grid. You've got to read the guys back down that have pitted. You can see what they can see, and you can see who's coming to the pits. And obviously, like I say, if you can get to the end, then some of those drivers up and down that pit lane that have come into the pit will also be able to go to the end. And Lily had good pace, so You know, you've seen those two guys come into the pit. You see it on your relative, those two drivers come into the pit, and she's, like you said, she's so focused on that, she's not thought about. When we come into the pit at full racing speed, there will be at least 3 or 4 drivers that have already done that. And that is it. It's just a hole in there. You've got to think about everything. And to be fair, understandably so, Matt has goaded her into a big fight today. Big fight. And so it's unfortunate that we saw that error there after the safety car, not safety car, the pit stop phase, that just put him well out of contention there. But I think he's going to pick up a solid 4th place. But again, we've still got 5
behind Caitlin Height, and that's going to lose him just a few points to the match. I mean, he salvaged her from getting a massive gap on him, or putting, you know, a 10 or so point gap on him. He's left it, and is currently keeping it at a couple point gap. Still, she hasn't been able to top his fastest lap, so that's another point that'll help him stay even closer, or as close as he is right now, in hopes that next week at Twin Ring he can come out and top her and get a little bit more points lead, or gain a little bit more on her as we get closer to the end of the season. And Jewsbury's in pit lane, our 2nd place driver. That could possibly, Turner is still a while behind, but that could move Matt Turner up to a podium spot. But that does move Caitlin Height up to 2nd place. Currently still 11 seconds behind Lily, so definitely not enough time to catch Lily unless he makes a mistake. And as we see, Matt Turner goes by Jewsbury. He's going to have to deal with Jewsbury on a low tank and some fresh tires. So once a couple laps come in, he's going to have about 2 laps where Jewsbury's going to be on rails, and he's going to have to defend that 3rd place position.
Keep your eye on Lily. If Jewsbury had to pit, so is Lily. There's no way they'd have been able to save the difference between 4 laps. If Jewsbury's had to pit 4 laps before the end, I cannot imagine in what world Lily's going to be able to go to the end. They pitted the same lap. Unbelievable. This would be an unbelievable turnaround. If Height and Turner reclaim P1 and P2, that would just be
crazy.
That would top it off for me.
Brandon Walker currently sitting in 5th place. Don't forget about him. He's the Kudo Eva driver.
That's it. Lily stays out for another lap, so I can't call it. I honestly don't know what's going to happen. There's no way that these two are going to get. I mean, that puts Height and Turner into a podium position. Absolutely, with a shadow of a doubt, that's put them back into a podium position. And it's actually made the damage a little bit worse for Matt, because the gap between P2 and 3 is bigger than the gap between P3 and 4. There's another 2 points in it to gain for Caitlin. But that is it. Jewson's now out of the podium contention. But I'm just curious. I'm just curious as to how Lily's got the fuel, if he does have the fuel, if Jewson didn't. I'm shocked.
Jewsbury's still in 4th place, so still a pretty decent run for this team for their first time here.
Yeah, phenomenal race with them guys today. Both of them. Reading the race very well.
We'll see if Lily can actually pull off the win, but if not, at the moment, depending on where it's at, he's pulling kind of a little overcut, and he had a little bit of time on Jewsbury. But Lily can still pull off a podium here, as long as he doesn't make any mistakes. If he makes a mistake, then his teammate's going to take it. But there you see him go by the pit entrance. We got 3 more laps to go left in the Pacific Grand Prix. Jonathan Lilly currently out front of Caitlin Height by 11.2 seconds. Not sure if he's going to have to pit for fuel, but we are going to find out in the next 7 minutes.
Shades of Canada. Cristiano Shegetman running out of fuel on the back straight on the last lap. Do you remember? I don't want to look at this. It was so tight then, and
the only thing that Jonathan Lilly's got going for him here is this track is much shorter than Canada is, and the backstretch is so much shorter, so he might not have as bad a problem if he does run out of fuel, but at the same time, it's where you run out of fuel. If you run out of fuel at the bottom of the hill as you try to go up, that's definitely going to decrease your speed a lot and make it harder for you to, A, beat the other cars to the line, and B, maybe even make it to the line all in general. So where he's sitting right now, I mean, he could possibly, I don't know if he'd be able to take that third place from Matt Turner if he took a pit stop right now. But he'd definitely be able to sit on the podium.
No, is he going to get... Oh, damn. Again we see him go round.
Only 2 laps to go. I can't imagine if he didn't have enough fuel that he'd just keep going.
Yeah.
He's running slow lap times, 1:23.4. I guess still 3/10 off his fastest lap, so he's still kind of pushing his car a little bit.
Doesn't sound fuel savey though, does it? That's not
no,
when you fuel save, you lose big chunks of time, and he's like we saw.
Caitlin Height running a 1:23.0, so she's not even really pushing right now. She really thinks that she must think that he's planning on pitting if she's running those lap times. Matt Turner's pulling on a 1:22.839, really trying to push up on Caitlin Height. He's not going to have enough to do it, but Turner really pushing right now.
What would have been for that man? I do. He's still got to recalibrate himself for the remaining 6 rounds. There is still, after this round, 165 points up for grabs. So there is still the world and his oyster to play for. So, phenomenal stuff we're seeing from Matt Turner today. I think if there's anyone that's going to take it to Caitlin over the rest of this season, it's going to be him.
Is Jonathan Lilly? No, he's coming around. He's going to stay out. Coming out of the last turn, the white flag is going to be in the air. We are under the last lap of the Pacific Grand Prix. Jonathan Lilly leads Caitlin Height by 10.4 seconds.
Phenomenal. This is the last 2.2 miles of this track that we've got. So we just hope and pray that he's got enough juice in that car to get all the way back to where he is now. Fingers crossed for that man. Stunning race today. Winners and losers all round. We've got lapped positions all the way up to P6. Ribeiro's had a great race. Currently, Lilly from Height on the podium there. Turner management to recover a great podium. These guys, despite Turner having that mistake or two on his own. Dewsbury not quite having enough fuel there to pull off the strategy that his teammate has, and obviously that would have been P2 for him. Still sat great in P4, so phenomenal pace from him today. Walker P5, good result for him if he stays where he is. Ribeiro at Steltflow taking P6 and P7. Collins in P8, Marshall in P9, and Beddoes in P10. They're your current points scorers for today. As we just see Lilly now around in the last few corners.
This is where you don't want to run out of fuel. Slow corners going up a hill. But he's only got 2 more corners to go.
Even if he runs out now, he could roll over the line.
And Jonathan Lilly, as he rounds the last corner, he's going to start celebrating his first IFL race. He's going to take his victory. 10.2 seconds ahead of Caitlin Height. Not too many people can say that. What a race for that number 88 and that team bringing it home. It's going to be 1-4, I believe, as Caitlin comes across the line. P2. And Matt Turner, after a massive mistake, comes back P3, just ahead of Aaron Dewsbury there and Brandon Walker, bringing it home P5 for the Cuda Evo team. What a great run for them guys this weekend. Victor Ribeiro had a tough race today, coming home P6 as he comes out of the final corner. That's going to be some good points for that Turn 1 racing team. Matt Stelflug is about to round the final corner in that number 93 Cuda Works car. He's going to take home 7th place. Rory Collins going to come home in 8th. Nick Marshall in 9th. Eric Beddoes in 10th, rounding out our points drivers. And Steve Bunting, the last driver on the racetrack, finishing out P11. We had 4 retirements this afternoon, Lewis. And what a race we had.
Yeah, that
New
was exciting.
winner, exciting racing. And we only got 6 races left to go. And Lilly just took a bunch of points away from Caitlin Height.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. And you just think now that with everything that we've seen to contribute to this story of this title, as I was talking about earlier, halfway through the race. This just brings into that story more, doesn't it? This just adds more contributing factors to it. We've got to keep our eye out for Lily now, and we've got to keep our eye out for Dewsbury. Those two seem really strong, and this is our only first outing for those guys. And although it was a good call on the strategy, and I don't think those guys had that out and out pace to win, it just shows you that you've got to be on your feet. You've got to be on your toes with every aspect of the race, because there's more to play. There's more to play when it's close like that, and it's only a few tenths between these guys, and you don't have that half a second advantage per lap to just destroy your own strategy. You've got to be thinking about more than just one car, and we see that cost Katie the lead today. She was solely focused on her one challenger, and it just blindsided her to the rest of the field and what they were doing. So yeah, that was an incredible race. As expected, the IFL doesn't disappoint. The F3 race was just as mega as it was last week, the week before that, as I'm sure it's going to be next week. Absolutely insane. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was a fantastic race as we get ready to get our top 3 in for our podium interviews. Jonathan Lilly, Caitlin Height, and Matt Turner standing on the podium this afternoon. What a race. Aaron Dewsbury, don't count him out next week. He had to make that pit stop. I'm not sure exactly why he had to pit, and Lilly didn't. That'd be really interesting to find out there. But Dewsbury was in that position to finish second in front of Caitlin Height. He had the pace. He held her off. He stayed consistent. So even though he didn't step on the podium this week, definitely we're going to be keeping an eye out for that man right there.
We saw some phenomenal racing, didn't we? We saw some absolutely phenomenal racing. Again, we've got to mention it. Jonathan Lilly pulling off the perfect strategy there. I think it was on the back foot of a bit of damage there, and he's just used that timing and just absolutely smarted that strategy. But obviously that won't work if you don't have the pace. So if we'd have done exactly that same thing, but floating around the mid 23s, 24s, he'd have just gone backwards. So it's having that pace when we weren't looking at him. So after that strategy, the first half of that strategy had played out and he'd been in the pits, we weren't watching him. We were so focused on the immense pace that was going on up front with Caitlin and Matt that we weren't looking at Jonathan just knocking back laps that were just a couple tenths slower than those guys, because you don't, it's not the pace leading. But as soon as there's a pit stop less involved, it just puts him straight into play. And he had enough pace to pull that strategy off, and I do think so did his teammate. I think his teammate was sorely robbed of a P2 there. For whatever reason, he didn't have enough fuel. Maybe he was using more with his technique. We see this last season and this season with certain cars. Some drivers in exactly the same car just have a different lap and just use slightly more fuel, and that may have meant the difference over 25, 30 laps. But Lily with a phenomenal debut win there. Absolutely awesome. Caitlin Height drove her absolute socks off there. Was out strategied there. Still a great P2 and 18 points for her. Matt Turner, what could have been for him today? I still feel that if he hadn't have made those errors like Caitlin didn't, he would still only be P2 today and Caitlin would be P3. I feel like Jonathan had that one in the bag. He didn't have to pit, and that's just so much extra time gained. So we would have still seen a Lily usurp the whole lot. Dewsbury, great to finish off P4 there. Excellent haul of points, 15 points for that man. Brandon Walker there with 12 points in P5. Victor Ribeiro, a good race for him in all. He could have had a little bit more from that, but we didn't see many mistakes from him. So a nice consistent race there. Not quite the pace to stick with the leaders, but a solid 6th place and 10 points for him. Stelt flew with 8 points in 7th place. Rory with 6. And Nick with 4, Eric with 1, Eric with 1, and that rounds out our point scoring positions. But look, 2 laps behind and still in the points. So those front guys really did peel away there today. Steve Bunting in 11th place, having some diabolical luck today. We know he didn't really have the pace, but he had some awful moments in the race that just compounded his luck today. And Gutnik with the DNF, and Boggs with the DNF, and Shana with the DNF, and Stuart Gibbons with a DNF there. So our 4 unluckiest drivers there, as we look at the only person that we can get in for our interview today, which is actually our race winner. So if it was going to be anyone, It may as well be that man as well. Excellent, excellent. So we will just grab Matt Turner up now and speak to him about his race. Mixed emotions, I'm sure, from this man as we bring him in. Matt Turner.
Yeah, you're right.
Mixed emotions. I can tell already. Mixed emotions from us. It must just be so. What could have been? We said this on the stream. What could have been?
Yeah. I definitely, I felt like I had the pace, but I mean, I've only got myself to blame. A couple of mistakes on on cold tires.
Yeah, we
Probably
saw
should have
that.
pitted under safety car as well.
Yeah, so we called that, and that's exactly it. We said this, and I think you two were so focused on each other, also Caitlin too, that you guys just missed that opportunity. And
Well,
the second,
we were talking about it, me and Matt, but I didn't like the idea of getting stuck in any traffic. I wondered whether I might be able to just gap people far enough, but not to be. Wrong call, but again, it's on me.
in hindsight, if everything had gone perfectly for you today and you didn't make any of these mistakes, I do still think you'd have finished 7 seconds behind Lily. He just pulled that strategy off. I just don't think his pace was far enough behind. He was pulling in 23 2s, 23 1s, 23 4s. It was just enough to stay in that shooting zone. Do you know what I mean? He did lose a lot of time to you guys, like 13 something seconds, but just not that last 10. Just not that last 10.
Credit to him making the right call though.
Honestly, the only thing I can say is it was absolutely a pleasure to sit back and watch the fastest laps exchanged between you and Caitlin for such a long period of time. It was insane, man. You would do something and she would answer it literally 5 seconds, 4 seconds behind you. So you would answer it with that exact same lap time, and then she'd answer it again, and it just went like that for ages. For ages, it looked like there was absolutely no momentum in all that whatsoever. We couldn't read any of it to see which way it was going. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm definitely proud of that performance. Just being able to keep that 3-second gap in front of Katie.
Yeah, and you were. I feel like you were slightly. It was, just at that pit stop, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But no. So yeah, that's it, man. Absolutely stunning job to get another podium. We said this on the stream. It took you 7 races to get to a podium in this season, but now you're there. It's pretty much every week you're on the podium somewhere now.
Yeah.
If it's not,
continue that trend.
That's it. You're pretty much. I mean, we see Shegatman again. Not here today, so he will score a fat 0, and you certainly didn't, and neither did Caitlin. So it's not going to be long before you're the only person mathematically possible. But you will be pleased that with a total of 6 rounds left, there is 165 points still left up for grabs, and that's a lot of points. That's a lot of juice there. So you get your game on and bring it, because this is the title fight in the making, and we're watching it.
Yeah, I best get to work.
Good stuff. Good luck for next week, buddy. Any shout outs you want before we go to the leader?
Just shout out to the entire league. Just again, another enjoyable race. Great to be here. Great to have everyone.
You probably much need of a sit down and a chill out after that one.
Yeah, glass of water.
Well done, dude. And we'll see you on the track next week at Twin Ring.
Yep, perfect. Cheers. Catch you later.
And we will we'll go over to our race winner, Jonathan Lilly, who I am sure is going to be bouncing off the walls after this, because that must have come after that Clumbo in turn 1 on the safety car restart. Let's speak to the man. Jonathan Lilly.
Oh,
Unbelievable. How are you feeling after that perfect strategy call?
I can't quite believe it, to be honest. It's complete luck. No skill.
Yeah, I mean, there's the thing is, you say luck, but you're driving in a field of drivers that do this week in, week out, and they do know that strategy is very viable, and it's a very, very, very good strategy as well. So if you can come in and pit and do your fuel under the safety car and get to the end of the race, it doesn't matter what position you're in the grid, it puts you at such a massive advantage. I mean, you lost 13 seconds to those two.
Yeah,
but
over that last stint.
You were 24 in front, so you didn't lose that last 10, and there it is. It's not even touchable. It's not even... There it is. It just walked into your hands, and you must have, after that turn 1 incident, I really thought it was gone. I really thought you had the chance to run away with it then, and your first race, the pressure got to you, and it just swung straight back in your way. But that's their fault because they were so focused on each other. They were so focused on each other that they didn't think about anybody else up and down the grid, and that is where you slipped in. Brilliant.
Yeah, that worked out perfectly for me.
Yeah.
Like you said, I did throw it away already at an earlier stage under that first safety car. I was leading the pack at that point. But I think if I hadn't have thrown it away there, I probably wouldn't have pitted under the second one. So it kind of worked out in my favour.
Yeah, exactly. And that, ladies and gentlemen, this is just the races. A certain element of racing is skill, a certain element of racing is speed and time, and a certain element of it is certainly playing the luck right. You've got to, but they would have known about this. This is the thing. So you'd have been looking at that, and they had this same opportunity to come in, and we just spoke to Matt there, and he was speaking to his team, and they just come up to the same moment that you did, and decided not to, because they didn't want to get caught in the traffic, which you did, and you managed to get through it. You and your teammate worked your way through all of that, and there was a bit of a moment of doubt there when your other guy came into the pit, and I thought maybe you would too, but you got all the way to the end.
No, massive props to Aaron for all the help working. We worked really well as a team through that traffic, picking off cars one by one, and it was constant communication got us through that really.
Good
I couldn't have
teamwork.
done it without him.
So
Yeah.
Jonathan, at the beginning of this race, you had what we could consider the make or break moment. You were battling with Alexander Shana and Eric Beddoes, and you made a great move when Alexander Shana outbraked himself and kind of lost it in front of you. You came so close to losing this race at that point, and it reminded me of Corey Schartzer at Canada, just barely squeaking through. What kind of like exercises or practice do you do to maintain your mental focus so that way when incidents like that happen in front of you, they don't startle you and you can actually react correctly to them?
So practice and exercises, just loads of F3 races, as much as I possibly can really. But I think I had no option there other than to take the corner as I'd planned to. I couldn't have braked any harder. I would have locked up and I would have been part of the accident. If I'd have come off the brakes, I'd have been part of the accident as well. It was literally just go for the apex, close your eyes, and hope for the best.
They're really not that good, those F3 tires when they're cold, aren't they? And obviously you
No.
get the cold tires out the pits, but yeah, off that safety car restart.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do what you can. We said this in previous streams, and I used to race these cars in season 1. You can do what you can to keep them alive behind the safety car, but the damn thing goes so slow. It's just so hard.
So
It's just,
slow.
yeah, it's like prolonging death, isn't it? And you
Yeah.
can keep some heat in them, but they still go down. They still
And
get lit.
I've never been behind a safety car in iRacing before. So my first one, I was doing the restart. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't think they were going to be that cold.
You got the jump right, but yeah, they're usually worse than anything you would have expected. And just as a heads up for the future as well, if you get 2 consecutive safety cars in a row, it is like ice cubes. Because you do 3 or 4 laps cold, and
I
then
don't want to experience that.
and then yeah, we had this before, and it usually just tumbles out of control. We had it at Canada. We had 3 in a row, and it was just like nearly 20 laps of just cold tires. They were like, yeah, I can't even imagine. But yeah, you did absolutely phenomenal job today, dude. You recovered from your mistake really well. Like you said, a little bit opportunistic, but this is it. We've seen a couple of races won this season like this, and yeah, first safety car restart, first win.
Yep. I'm really
Good.
happy with that. I'm going to
Yeah.
go and buy a twin ring now. Start practicing for next week.
And that's it, dude. It's a totally different track, that one. So we'll be keen eyes on you for now for the rest of the 6. There's 165 more points up for grabs between now and the end of the season, all to play for. But anyone you want to shout out before we move on, buddy?
Just again to Aaron, teammate. Couldn't have done it without him.
Yeah,
Big props.
good, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a strong team here on the IFL. Good lad. But
Thanks a lot.
thank you for racing with us, and we'll catch you at the next race, dude.
Yeah, man. See you next week.
No worries.
There
Cheers.
he is, folks. Jonathan Lilly, first time on the track with the IFL F3, and he takes home the win out in front of Caitlin Height. We'll go through and we'll show you our race results one more time. Jonathan Lilly coming out 10 seconds over Caitlin Height, and Height coming 14 seconds ahead of Matt Turner for your podium. Aaron Jewsbury and Brandon Walker put on a great show today, but were just short of that podium, but still picked up some really good points for their team this week.
Yeah, that was a sterling effort, and especially to hear from the leader there that they worked together as a team to work their way through the pack. It's a shame we saw Aaron pit so late in the game, but still to pick up P4, the pace was there, and yeah, two drivers. I mean, they're going to have a phenomenal amount of points. Lily's going to pick up at least 25 points, and Jusen's there is going to pick up 50. No, I think he will pick up 12. So that's 38 points, 37 points already, and in their first race. So that's just, yeah, it's a very, very, very good start for them. I mean, we see drivers come to this track, these races week in, week out, and struggle to scrabble at the back of this points and get a couple of points, and constructors that have got 8-9 points altogether over the 12 races we've had so far, and these guys have walked in and slapped 38 on the board.
So here's our actual constructor standings up until this race. Obviously, the finishes will change that. But you said, 30, 36, 37 points. That puts them right around the Glove Box Motorsports Can-Am VRL guys in 8th and 9th. So, and you see the BE Racing, Eric Beddoes and Steve Bunting, they've been here all year. They've been, sticking out and finishing races and picking up the points that other people are leaving on the board, and they're up there. So those guys are going to definitely have to get some moving on and get some better finishes going on if they want to stay ahead of this team that's coming out like a rocket ship on their first day. But the battle really heating up without any of the turning point drivers here. The battle is tied for second place right now as we went into this race for 176 points between Lumos Academy and Turning Point. So with Lumos Academy coming in here, they didn't actually, I don't believe they actually scored any points.
Today,
So that was very lucky for Turning Point this week, that the Lumos Academy drivers did not have a good weekend, because that leaves them in contention for that second place in the constructor standings. But RS Art Esports with Caitlin Height just way out front, still catchable for sure, being the only driver on her team. Two drivers can definitely team up and take that down. And I mean, if you look far enough down, the Coonworks F3 team in fourth place, they're at 156 points. That's only, 40 or 35, 36 points away from the top spot. That's a 1-2 finish, So it really is very, very close for our constructor standings at the moment, present time.
Yep, well, talking about exactly what you just said there, they've got that 156 points, and Matt's just finished second, and Steltflug's just finished 7th or 6th or whatever he just finished, which is both points finishes, and Lumos didn't, and neither did Turning Point. So I should imagine they're already in second place in the constructors title by a few points, because neither of those second and third teams will be scoring any points today.
Yeah, and Caitlin Height, she did finish second, so she is going to put another 18 points on top of that 191 that she's got, putting her over 200 points for the season right now. So still in a catchable range, but sitting in a pretty good spot considering the pace and the finishes that she's been putting down this season.
Yeah, I still think it's an absolutely mega effort for her to even be anywhere near the top in the constructor standings with a blown driver. That just shows how much of a job that she's done. I can't remember what round she came in, but she certainly didn't come in on round 1. I know that much. But yeah, if she did, it would have just been even worse. But yeah, so eyes to Cristiano Shekatman now, to see if he can return to the track for the last 6 races and continue the fight. Matt Turner has showed today that he has indeed got what it takes to develop into the faster driver, to bring this to Caitlin. But it's still, we know that Caitlin isn't going to want to let this go anywhere other than in her back pocket. She's done so much work to get this far, and Matt has been there since round 1. So it's growth by Matt, maintenance by Caitlin there. So we've got to see if she can maintain this lead, and can Matt bringing the challenge. He's got an absolute mountain to climb, hasn't he? He's nearly 100. Oh god.
But
damn.
this is the thing there, Lewis. Caitlin Height joined, like you said, later on in the season. She hasn't been here for all the races, and most all of her races, she has been a rocket ship. She's been flying, and she's been putting down good finishes. Matt Turner started off the year, wasn't having the greatest finishes all the time. He was getting caught up in incidents and problems, and then we see him develop. We see him start picking up, and now over the last few races, we've seen extreme consistency. Great finishes, and it doesn't seem like it's phasing him. So now Matt Turner has risen to the occasion and is really starting to put the pressure on Caitlin Height, and it's on Height now, who's been fast all year, to stay fast. And that's what's really going to get you. When you've got pressure from behind, you know you have to perform because someone behind you is performing just as good as you now. So that's really going to amp up this title fight with 6 races to go and only 35, 40 points separating 1 and 2.
That's it. Caitlin's mind walking away from this race will be thinking about 2 things: strategy, because she lost the race today from a potential loss. She could have been in that one. And Matt Turner, basically, that will be her. I mean, he's a long way behind, but if he keeps doing things like that, he was driving like a man possessed today, barring a couple of accidents. He was on for it. He was absolutely on for it. He was under a different kind of pressure this week, and I feel like he was just going. Like I said, that middle period was just absolutely mind blowing. That 7 or 8, 9 laps we saw there, where it was just purple from both of them. Absolutely phenomenal. It just takes a couple of really skilled drivers to do that, to just dance around what is just the most phenomenally small margins. Half a tenth, 1/10, couple of thousandths here and there, lap after lap after lap. It's just brilliant. And they're not in the same team, so we know they're not coming from the same prep ground. Just 2 teams and 2 drivers absolutely at it, fair ground. Brilliant stuff there. Brilliant stuff. And that rounds out the first round back. We had a week off. That rounds our first round back of our Asian leg of this tour. We only got 3 races in the Asian leg. This one, Twin Ring Motor J, and finishing up with Suzuka before we go for our autumn break to go into the last tour, which will finish off this. And that was it. It will bring a crescendo to our title. But as I said before, still huge amounts of points to gain.
Yeah,
So,
and then after this Pacific Coast tour, we go back to Europe for the final few races, and that's where it's really going to amp up. We've got Spa coming up. I believe we still have Silverstone coming up, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
With Imola first.
So yeah, our last 4, we got Imola, Spa, Silverstone, and we're going to finish out the season at Hockenheimring, and that is going to be a crazy interesting race.
All of those tracks are incredibly fast. All of them. They are very fast tracks. Imola not so much, but it's still incredibly committed. Not like what we've seen today. I think Okayama presented a different challenge for these guys. They had that really awkward second sector. Exactly the same dynamic as we saw in the F2 race yesterday. Just drivers, some making the difference and some not making the difference, just in that one little tight section there. Which again, we're not going to see that. We've got a completely different challenge at Twin Ring. It's a much bigger circuit, much more flowing, a lot more transition between left and right. And Suzuka, God's ground. And then that really does start up, and that's it. We've got 4 GP circuits. Suzuka, Imola, Spa, Silverstone, and Hockenheim are all Grade 1 F1 full length circuits. So yeah, that hands it out for round 12 as we look at just 6 rounds to go for this title showdown here. Thank you for those 2 that came along and watched today, and we look forward to the next race next week, and we hope you can join us then as well. Good night from me and Rob.
Yeah, we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors real quick before we sign off. Butt Kicker, LTD Designs, and Majors Garage. We couldn't do this without you. Couldn't have pulled this great group of drivers and competitors together without the support of some sponsors. So we really appreciate what you guys do for us. And here in the next 6 weeks or so, we're going to start handing out some prizes for some really awesome drivers. So make sure you catch us next week on Saturday for the F2 division as they kick off the Twin Ring Motegi Grand Prix. And then remember to catch us back here again on Sunday, same time, for the F3 division as they take on Twin Ring. Gonna be a great race next weekend. It's definitely gonna be one to make sure you want to watch. So set that that DVR or set that reminder and make sure you come check us out next weekend for round number 13 of the IFL F3 division. Have a great night, and we will see you next week.